There could be many ways to define what an art style is, of what are the pillars of an art direction in any game, let alone a game like Hades. However, I think when it comes to this particular project, the biggest factors that define why people get absolutely amazed by it are the illustration style and the composition. Hello there, I'm Aleks, the game developer, and today we are going to be disassembling the secrets behind Hades' stunning looks. Okay, so first things first, when I said illustration style, I of course refer to the pen and ink style that makes Hades stand out above its competitors. Now, I'm not gonna say this is something that the Supergiant had invented, but it is executed to perfection. In the interview taken by magazine Video Game Industry Analysis and Insight, the art director of Supergiant Games, Gen Z, revealed that when they were working on Hades, she was influenced by a comics artist, Mike Mignola, who I believe is known best for his Hellboy series, as well as a 19th century poster artist, Fred Taylor. When we take a look at the works by these artists, we immediately notice familiar traits. I'm not an artist myself, so I appreciate your patience with my ugly explanations, but I'm also sure you are able to notice similar things at this point. Both artists use just a few colors, well, and their shades, to depict foam, which technically flattens the image, while at the same time putting more emphasis on the layers that do exist within the frame. A heavy use of dark areas denotes the light source. You can always trace the movement of the brighter objects to the darker ones. This communicates volume, this adds dimension. On top of that, of course, the distinct ink line outline the form and put even more emphasis on the vibrant colors whenever they do pop up. And we can clearly see this inspiration manifesting in almost a graphic novel-like look, except that this novel comes alive and it keeps readers on their toes constantly. Now, speaking about composition, there are a few important things in play here as well. First, continuity is very important. And a great example of how they applied continuity is obol symbol. We see it in the beginning of every run. We see it at the end of every run. It is depicted on the Helm of Darkness. It is also on the Hades' bracelet. It's on the obols as well, of course. Persephone's necklace, shield over Zagreus' bed, Theseus' belt, the Sigil of the Dead, and I'm sure I missed quite a few other things as well. And if you can remember them, please list for the other viewers in the comments. Yeah, honestly, I didn't realize myself how often we do see this symbol in the game. Second, Hades is the game that's based on the Greek mythology, and they have incorporated elements of an actual Greek physical art into the game. And I'm talking amphoras, I'm talking columns, ornaments, I might be reaching a bit, but I'm talking geganies. This is this tribe of six-armed giants who fought the Argonauts on some mountain. All of these are the examples of traditional Greek decor. Another example of how continuity is applied is the use of color palettes in the depiction of underworld biomes. Each biome has a very distinct palette assigned to it. We see it on the underworld map, while Zagreus rides something that I call the underworld elevator. We see it in the overview scene that we get at the start of each biome. It is maintained throughout the rooms of the biome. Tartarus is all about shades of green, from the darker ones all the way to almost acid bright green, asphodel bright red, because this is the biome that gets slowly consumed by the magma river. Elysium is teal, light blue, light green colors depicting the meadows covered in the nature. Finally, the Temple of Styx is in the shades of brown. And so the thing that they do very well in regards to color palettes is they break them up every now and then with colors that have a very clear contrast. And again, because they are in a very clear contrast, these new colors come across incredibly vibrant, leaving viewers just gazing at the screen. Furthermore, now that we have established that the environment composition makes use of the distinct color palettes assigned to a biome, also getting mixed up occasionally to bring the composition to the next level, after all that, you got to make sure that the things that you want to be on the foreground actually stay on the foreground. And I'm talking enemies, and I'm talking the interactable objects. As a game developer, you would want these to naturally draw players' attention, because you want to communicate the fact that a certain object is something more than just a part of the environment. And you could do it visually. For example, pillars in Elysium are painted in a clear contrast from the environment. Or you could do it compositionally. And for example, the treasure troves throughout all the biomes look clearly like something that is not a part of the environment. Another important thing when it comes to composition is, well, composition. The contents of rooms meet the theme of the biome. Chartres, lowest depth of hell. This is where the wretched souls get their punishment for oath-breaking, betrayal, you name it. As a result, we see the instruments of torture in every other room, as well as shackles and prison bars. Asphodel is a place where the, well, quote-unquote normal souls reside. They haven't sinned enough to get themselves to Tartarus, nor have they proven worthy of Elysium. The magma river Phlegethon flows through this place and is gradually taking over, which is why every room is essentially an island, and we see lots of architectural pieces slowly drowning in the fiery blaze. Elysium Meadows is the closest heaven counterpart that Greek mythology has to offer. This is the realm of souls that have proved remarkable in life. Kinda looks like it's on the top of the mountain. You know, the river Styx looks almost like a milky cloud. Biome is all covered in grass and flowers. Part of the environment feature these like huge weapons and statues holding heroic poses. At the end, the boss arena is actually an arena. There are shades in the audience. Some of them are rooting for the heroes, some of them are rooting for the Zagreus. Very planned through. Finally, the Temple of Styx. It's technically on the surface, and it's clearly very old because we see the walls partially reclaimed by nature. We also know that it is infested with satyrs, and room contain props from their rituals. Next on the list, we've got enemy design. And the enemies need to balance a couple of key points as well. They need to be memorable and excite the players to try again after a failed run. And I think everyone would agree that the game features a very diverse enemy catalog. It's genuinely fun to watch and very satisfying to battle. But then again, much like the environment, enemies also need to make sense within the biome they belong to. Which is why the enemies in Tartarus and Asphodel are mostly the embodiment of people living, well, let's just say suboptimal lives. Like the thieves, thugs, gluttons, envious, and etc. The Exalted of Elysium and the Chariots represent people who in life prove their distinctiveness. They are not being tortured, like most of the underworld, but instead they rest in peace. Well, if by peace we mean trying to kill Zagreus over and over, of course. Finally, the Temple of Styx. The enemies are actually made from living flesh, because again, the temple is not part of the underworld, it is on the surface. Having that in mind, you also have to remember that the enemies need to be visible. And especially in a game like Hades, where the amount of chaos on the screen is constantly like 11 out of 10. If you're not planning this through, you will get to the point where your enemies get lost in all the particle effects. I think the best example of this would be the Exalted in Elysium. They're mostly black and teal themselves, which kind of is what the entire biome looks like. But by adding almost acid bright pink elements and spotlight beneath their feet, they've actually made them very readable. And so I've been going on and on and on about different points and things you gotta pay attention to and make sure you keep them in line. And the point that I'm trying to make here is the fact that continuity, planning, attention to detail, these might not be the things that come to mind when you think about art, but these are exactly the things that make it stand out. And in my opinion, Supergiant master these absolutely like a few do. The close collaboration between the narrative, game design, tech in many ways, and of course art department, that's what resulted in this masterpiece of a game. And that is everything I have for today. If you found this video interesting or useful, consider subscribing to the channel. If you'd like to get involved, make sure to leave a like or a comment. I appreciate all the feedback. Keep calm and play games.